Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. We're going downtown to the queer... I almost said the Queer Eye for straight guy. We're going down to Queer Love. Another great one. Queer Love of the Ultimatum. So this is on Netflix, friends. Go find it if you haven't yet and come back to our episode later.
So good. Please watch. Good.
Yeah. This is season 2. We're going to do it in 2 sections. So, today we'll just talk about episodes 1 to 5, and then, which is, for those who have seen it already, which hopefully you all have if you're listening, it's when this part will end before they switch to their original partners in the trial marriages. Mm-hmm. And then next week we're going to do 6 to 10, which is the second half, of course. So, what a delight. We're excited to cover this with you. We're not doing recap, we're just doing our segments today. We might do awards or segments next time, but the segments are 6 segments, as you may recall from past episodes. Which we'll get into. They're psychologically minded. But first I want to hear, dear Dr. Ray, what is on your heart and mind today?
Okay, so I'm looking this up because I, forgot the name of what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So I watched a murder documentary last night from 1992, and it was so good. And apparently it was, one of the OGs. Sorry. Connor and I were texting about it last night, and it's just... Where did I put it?
Like the staircase? Is it like one of those?
Paradise Lost, which I know is also a poem. Have you seen that documentary?
Yes, totally.
Oh my god, it's so weird. It is so weird and southern and bizarre,
creepy.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
I was up and I googled the whole thing, and it's a trilogy. So there's 2 more. Mm-hmm. Y'all, the first one got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and you know what? It holds up. Honestly, I was these people are still creepy. This is still bizarre. Mm-hmm. Satanic panic was at play, and also
big part of
I think the case is still ambiguous. It's still unclear. Yeah. I am obsessed. I cannot wait. After we finish this podcast, I'm going to watch number 2. I'm going to pay for it. I don't give a shit. It is so fun. I mean, it's deeply disturbing. I should leave with that. It is deeply disturbing. And
but it's historical. It's like a historical journey, and important because that's not even that long ago. You know, that part of our history is so recent for Satanic Panic, and today would be wildly unrealistic or whatever. You know, people wouldn't believe it, and yet it was just so recent. And then just the way that people are in the video seems so unrealistic, and yet it was just now happened. Was how it was.
I cannot believe they are all real people. That stepfather is so creepy. Oh my god. I was, at the beginning, I was like, did he do it? And then it was kind of, I'm not going to spoil anything. I kind of just did. But it's, y'all, but not really, because we don't actually know what happened.
No. Yeah, I was going to say, no, you really didn't.
Yeah.
No.
But
the other thing is, I was trying to remember the other movies' names, because I was trying to remember if I saw the other ones or not. I remember knowing there were 3, but I can't remember if I went, because I watched Paradise Lost at least a decade ago, but I can't remember if I watched the other 3 or not.
It was everything. I was like, this is, I can't believe I've never seen this. I can't believe I've never heard about this. What the fuck? Oh my god. Y'all, watch this shit. It is, trigger warning, it's graphic. If you want to skip the first 10 minutes, it might behoove you, though there might be other pretty graphic depictions of murder,
children,
and sexual violence. So if that's, you can skip through those parts because they are quite disturbing. Yeah. And the documentary itself is so well done. And I was shocked, that was that good. Really.
90s.
Yeah.
Truly. Yeah, they were all started with Paradise Lost in the title, but then they had different subtitles. So that's why I was like, I can't remember if they had the same name or not, because they both did and didn't.
It is
I don't remember
wild.
if I saw them or not.
Yeah.
That's great.
Everyone's so weird. And I don't, maybe I do mean that in a gawking way, but I think I mean it also in man, things have changed a lot in the last 30 years. And also things are very similar. People tend to point fingers at the town weirdos, right?
Yeah.
The intellectual town weirdos. And also maybe he did it. I don't fucking know. But it's just
right.
wild.
No, exactly. exactly. No, a lot of that is still similar, and like, or like movements being blamed, right? Like now we could even say like
Yeah.
Trump era is being blamed, maybe appropriately, but
Yeah.
like like different types of movements being blamed for like children's actions or teens' actions, like or video games. Maybe today is like our Satanic Panic or something. But yeah, exactly. Like there's different. Each era has its own version of these things, and yet now, just in the next era, it looks so weird what that last era was about. So that is really cool. It's a cool kind of way of thinking about it, like cultural analysis.
Oh, I'm so glad you've seen that before. I am new
Yes.
to it. And it's, you know, when something that people know about exists and you had never seen it, and you're just so,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
into it. Like,
How
it's
did I
pretty
not
much
know
all I
about
can
it?
think about these, like,
Yes.
since last night. I'm like, holy shit. Like, this
Yeah,
is so
it
good.
gets a little bit under your skin too. Like it's like one of those things that like really sticks with you for a long time. Like I still get like shivers a little bit thinking about it, just in the way that it has like a guttural feeling, or it has like a
Yeah.
you have a physical reaction to it, which is also excitement, of course.
Hmm.
Like it's excitement to like get into something that's so engaging and like really like pulling you in. That's it gets exciting, but it's also a little anxiety provoking, so it just like sticks in your body a little bit.
Yes, it's pretty creepy, and it creepy the way everyone talks about the kids who die. Like everyone
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
creeps me out,
yeah,
even though I don't know who did
absolutely.
it. I'm kind of disturbed by everyone. I think that's what I mean
Yep.
by like differences in culture. I'm like, is this just how people talked? Because I
Right.
find it weird, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly. No, because we wouldn't talk about people like that anymore. Like each of those things, like even thinking we could watch a segment from the news back then that is just like a normal day in the news and be like, whoa, they would say that back then. It's like some of the things they were like totally felt entitled to talk about other people with in a
Hmm.
public manner is just so different now. And like, thank God. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah, the things that were
Bizarre.
normalized for that era. Yeah, the things that were normalized for that era was so bizarre. And then also, I think this is also a microcosm of like a weird area too. Like it's also in the South, and but
Lot going on.
yeah.
And it's just interesting to see the way religion intersects with how
Yes.
people see death and tragedy and, I don't know, how people see other people, too.
Yeah, and even Satanism, which is really more about like revolution and social justice,
Hmm.
and so like even just the way that that is viewed through this religious lens versus like sort of what it is more intended to be at this point, at least. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think we've come a long way in that way too. But yeah, definitely religion has and that's another thing that's changed so much just since the '90s is how much religion was like embedded in every single thing, and we're
Yes.
sort of like that's what Trump is trying to move us back towards, I think. But I also think that like it's wild to think about how far we've come in just the last decade in terms of how much religion was in everything. Like the news, like people were saying "God bless you," whatever. At the end of the news thing or whatever. It was like even in things that were thought to be very neutral or objective, there was still a very religious bend to it, and still is in a lot of it.
And yeah, it's kind of funny because, like, listening to the kid who they really thought was, like, who got sentenced to death, like,
Right, the
I
ringleader. They
agreed with a
thought,
lot of the
yeah,
things he was saying and thought he was quite
yeah,
intelligent. And I'm not convinced he didn't do it. But, like,
right,
some of the things he, like, corrected people about Wicca and that it's actually more about nature and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, he's making a lot of good points. And I can see how he's
yeah,
frustrated with how
yeah,
these interrogations are going, and
yeah.
I'm not convinced he didn't do it, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely came away. So maybe I did see the second two, and maybe that's part of what informed my decision. But I definitely came away like thinking he definitely didn't do it. So I
Oh
don't know if
wow.
it's like, it's maybe I'm spoiling something, but I don't think so because I don't know that it came from those. I don't even know if I saw them. So it might have just been my like understanding of like how I was supposed to view the video, like how it got posed to me to watch it, because I listened to this podcast called, or did, I haven't seen it in forever, listened to it in forever. Although I did go see them live, and that was amazing. But that was kind of like around when I stopped listening to them. It's weird how that happens. You sort of like it ends up getting different to listen to them. But I really like them a lot. It's called Last Podcast on the Left. They talk about all
Oh.
sorts of like different, yeah, like horror, and they talk about all types of true crime first and foremost. But they also talk a lot
Oh.
about like mythical things and like cryptology, and ufology, like UFOs and aliens. But they talked about Paradise Lost on that show, and I think that the way that they posed it very well could have been like these people were wrongfully accused, blah blah blah. So I might have gone in thinking that. That's the other option. It's either that or like I felt differently having watched it than you did or whatever. So
I'm intrigued.
yeah,
I can't wait to watch the full thing because it's really compelling. Like,
yeah,
wow. I can't
that's
believe.
so good.
I think my mind is blown that this exists and I didn't know about it. because I
Yeah,
thought I watched,
especially from the 90s.
like, I've watched a lot of the more recent true crime documentaries, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize I missed such a seminal OG.
Yeah, yeah, no, I only learned of it from the podcast. To be fair, you know what I mean. I don't think people talk about it all that much, but I
Yeah.
definitely learned about it. I think maybe right. Some people who are like deep in true crime probably do more often than I am aware. But definitely that podcast talked a lot about it, and I was like, I need to go do that thing. That is a thing I need to go watch. And I
Hmm.
was excited to find it. But yeah, that's so funny. I guess we haven't really talked about our like overlap in true crime interest. By the way, we talked about how we
Yes.
both watched My Favorite Murder, which is, or listen, fuck, I keep saying watch, my goodness. I guess if we're talking about watching a
Same
documentary, I'll
diff.
give myself that.
Yeah.
I'll give myself that, yeah. No, but we both listened to that, so we did talk a little bit about our shared interest in true crime, but it's funny that we had the shared interest in reality TV and a shared interest in true crime. There's something there, right? Like, I think there's something about that overlap, because they're both reality, right? Like, they're both, like, ideally, but they're both also biased, but, so there's something interesting about that overlap, because I definitely think that I've seen that before with other people too. If they're interested in one, they might be interested in the other. And I think true crime is also something that I think a lot of people with trauma are really interested in too, because it has a sort of like both that, and this is something about My Favorite Murder, where it has this ability to like get you prepared for like shit that could happen.
Yeah.
Like it makes you feel like you're like less anxious for something that could happen because you're aware of what can happen to people. But I also think that true crime has an ability to like activate you enough that like it feels more normative because you're at a certain level of activation all the time, and when you hypoactivate, that can be sort of like alarming to your body or whatever, so it like brings you up into activation like you almost are wanting to be if you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And also that it's like you're like, okay, this takes me away from my shit because it's like this is worse,
Mm-hmm.
like at least this didn't happen to me, you know. It sort of has that quality too. So I think that's really interesting. But I definitely find true crime to be an absolute draw for me, and it has been for a long time. I have sort of fallen off, I have to say. Like, I don't know if that was a symptom of, I've been noodling on this, but I sort of fell off on true crime like around when Trump got elected. Not the second time, the first time. And I wonder if it has to do with that. Like if it has to do with the fact that I like our society became like a fucking shit show, and I like didn't need those shows to like bring me there anymore.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. And I think there are some very well articulated and very fair like critiques of white feminists and their interest in true crime and like the sort of
Hmm.
spectacle of it that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I interrogate and then sometimes I don't, and I'm just like I
Yeah.
find this entertaining and I'm just going to watch it. But I do think it's
Mm.
like it's sort of a numbing to certain types of crime and like who gets humanized and who doesn't. It tends to be white people's narratives that get
Absolutely.
put on
Mm-hmm.
Dateline, for example, more often.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So there's a
Like
lot of
Gabby Petito.
problems. Yeah. Oh,
Oh
sorry.
my
Go
god,
ahead.
yeah. No, that was just the like big argument also with Gabby Petito when she went missing and then was found dead or whatever. Is like there were also three black people that went missing that weekend that no one was talking about, and that's been going on since the beginning of the discussion about true crime too. That like that's been a part of it that I've been like tuned into or just thinking a lot about, and also that like we aren't solving it. Like that's something that we're all talking about and still not solving. Like it still
Right.
isn't being just as elevated in discussion for people of color as not. And yeah, I definitely it's a really big issue. I also think like I think there's also a difference, I think, in like watching Dateline or like whatever, and then like trying to like dig into other pieces of it, like sort of like look into the bigger system of a story, because there is something to be said also about the like just eating something with like whole or whatever that expression is, or like eating it whole with a spoon, whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like there's something about that versus like learning about the system, from learning about whatever the story is from different systems, because it's also another issue, and including with white feminists, like in digestion of things, is that we take it in from one source and then like that's like good and then we feel like but actually like if you start to like dig a little bit more into it and you get more sources, it is a more well-rounded view of it that can also bring attention to things like socioeconomic differences or racial differences. There are things that like one source is almost never going to capture all of those things, and I think that that's another way of more carefully digesting or ingesting true crime
Mm-hmm.
than sort
In
of like a
Dateline, almost never.
yeah
I have
yeah
to say, Paradise Lost did bring up class, which was cool,
mm-hmm
and like
yeah
how the police did not like think that you know. I think one of the parents said that these poor kids' parents were gonna care, and they're like, and we do, and like I thought that was interesting representation,
mm-hmm
and also
mm-hmm
like the person who made the false confession had an IQ, or potentially false confession had an IQ of 72, and it was like the
mm-hmm
traditional false confession. It was just like so
mm-hmm
there was a lot of like intersecting issues that were at play, and it wasn't race, you know. So
yeah
I don't know.
yeah that's not talked about at all, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think also, like, in the South, that's a problem, too, right? Like, that might be a really important place to bring that up. Is there anyone of color in there? No, there's, like...
I don't think so. It's a
They're all
very
white.
white show,
Yeah.
I think.
I couldn't think of a single person. Well, yeah, right, and maybe I saw the second two, and I would be forgetting something from that, but I don't think so. I think it is just entirely white, and it's just not raised, but also not raised at all, but also not, like, discussed either. Like, it's not present or represented, but it's also not discussed. Yeah. I think there's others, like, the class issue is also one that today can go underrepresented too, so I am glad they do bring that up. That's really important. That is good.
But anyway,
I
I went on a tangent.
well,
But what is...
I will use that tangent to tell you mine, because now I'm going to change what my representation was going to be too, which is I was going to tell you about now I'm going to. I wasn't going to. Now I'm going to tell you about some true crime that I watched too. So have you heard of the murder of you must have, but the murder of the 4 students in Idaho?
Yes, and I listened to a Dateline about it.
That's funny. And also
Yeah.
another area where it's deeply problematic that they're all white, right? Like, we all
Right.
cared about them. The whole country was, like, wrapped up in it because they were 4 white kids, you know? So, like, that's another major issue with that case. And one that is not talked about on almost any of the studies on it. Like, no one ever mentions that, like, everyone cared because they were white. Never. And that's such a fucking problem. It drives me nuts. I've been seeing that in every instance of it. I'm like, come on, somebody mention this. There are a few things like that where I'm like, why is no one mentioning this or whatever, too? What was the other one? I'm gonna think of it in a second, but there's a couple things like that. But that case has been, like, deeply problematic. But part of what is interesting about it is that we don't know a motive at all, and so that does make it very, like, intriguing. You want to learn more. And I just had this, like, moment 2 days ago or 3 days ago where I just was, like, trying to figure out what the name, like, how to find a podcast on it, because I was like, oh, I haven't followed up on that. I wonder what's going on with it. And I misremembered it as Ohio and not Idaho, which I blame you, because I think I was thinking about Ohio because of you. But I was thinking it was Ohio. I know, right? You've stuck in my head now more. So, and also, like, completely different part of the country, but similar sounding, Ohio and Idaho.
They're very
So they have H and O's. They both have H and O's and I's.
Yeah.
So I
3
I
out of
looked
4.
up the Ohio.
No, 4 out of 4.
That's a lot of yes, right, for Ohio.
Yeah, not for Idaho.
Except
but
except there's only one. So, yeah, but also whatever the fuck, it's good. They're the same to me because I have no direct contact with either state. So it's sadly they've been smushed in my brain. But yeah, definitely also the spelling, I swear. So and sound. So I was, like, looking it up as Ohio for, like, Ohio students, like, da-da-da, and I couldn't find anything, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I can't believe no one's talking about this. Like, I was, like, so disturbed by it. I was like, no one cares. And then, like, I just had this, like, moment the next day where I was like, fuck, I think it might be Idaho. And I looked it up, and it just happened that exact day was the day he was being sentenced.
wow.
So, like, I just had this moment where I was like, I want to know more about this. I looked it up wrong, and then the day I looked it up right, it just happened to be he was in his sentencing court in that moment, like, the moment that I looked it up. And it was pretty quick because he came with, he had declared guilty instead of not guilty so that he wouldn't get the death penalty. So his sentencing was very, very fast. Like, the court case was very, very fast that day, the court time. It wasn't that fast. They had victim statements, which were actually very intriguing. So they put the whole thing online. Like, you can watch the whole thing because some things aren't open, but that one is open. And I was watching it. It was just, like, deeply moving and, like, learning more about the families of the victims. It's so disturbing. He just sat there, like, totally cold, like, just looking at them without taking any sort of, like, beat or emotion in his face. He never said a single word. He didn't, like, he said yes when he was forced to say yes about certain things, but he didn't say a single word about his motive or doing it or anything about it. I definitely believe he did it. I don't think he just was going not guilty because he didn't want the death penalty. I do believe there's way enough evidence that why it's him. But yeah, what a disturbing case. So anyway, point being, when I figured out he was getting sentenced, I was like, dude, I really want to learn more about this right now, like, see what's going on. Like, someone needs to bring me up to speed, because, like, what the fuck happened? And I found this, do you know Liz Garbus?
I don't know.
Okay, she's a documentarian who's, like, fucking phenomenal. Like, her documentarian skills are out of this world. And I found this, like, documentary that was about the Idaho 4, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this out. And in the first couple screens, it said Liz Garbus, and I was like, I literally said out loud, shut the fuck up. Like, just, like, super loud out loud. I was like, and then I said, what the fuck? Like, it just was, like, too overwhelming because I love her so much. And I had no idea she did this documentary because the time I saw it talked about by a guy and not her. So I thought it was this guy's documentary, but it was hers. I was so phenomenal, like, so excited. I woke Sean up, made him watch it with me, and we both were just, like, completely stuck. Like, we couldn't leave the screen. We watched all 4 episodes back to back, couldn't stop. It is so intensely good. I really recommend it. So definitely, if you were interested in that. It's called One Night in Idaho, and I love Liz Garbus, so she's never gonna take you wrong. Like, she makes sure to, like, really bring voice to, like, the victims and the victims' families, and I was bawling right away. Bawled the whole way through. It was so good.
Aw.
So good. Yeah. Just so moving. Just the way that she does. She really just does such, like, justice. So I guess mentioned, though, like, she's the kind of person I would trust to bring up things like the fact that we all paid attention because they're white and she didn't. So that is a downside, but anyway,
Wow.
she's great. She's one of my two
gotta
favorites. It's her and, yeah, you have to check it out. It's her and Erin Lee Carr. They're my two favorite documentarians. Erin Lee Carr did the one on
Which one?
Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee. Gypsy Rose, the Munchausen by proxy. Yeah, Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee, whatever the fuck. Blanchard.
I gotta watch
So
that because I've started.
it's called
getting
Mommy, Dead,
into
and Dearest.
Munchausen. I think I told you that.
Yes,
I've started
you did.
really
That's why I was
looking
like, you
into
know.
factitious disorder by proxy, and it's kind of very intriguing. We're having a big
It's
true
deep.
crime day today.
Yeah, this is big true crime day. Anyone who likes true crime, this is your day. Also, but I would mention though, you should, if you haven't seen it, her documentary, Erin Carr's, is Mommy, Dearest Mommy, Dear and Dead. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Mommy, Dear and Dead. Dearest Mommy, fucking hell. I just said it too. I started to say it and I had it right, but then I just
Mommy
totally forgot.
Dearest?
Mommy, Dead and Dearest. Yeah, Mommy, Dead and Dearest. Mommy, Dead and Dearest.
Oh.
It's the name of the documentary. Find it immediately. It's on HBO. It's phenomenal. It's so good. Yeah.
I have so much
So
to
good.
watch.
I know. There's so many good things. But yeah, anytime you see a documentary by Erin Lee Carr or by Liz Garbus, you're in good shape. Like, they're just such phenomenal.
Twist my motherfucking arm.
I know, right?
So, Kate, so now that we have spent sufficient time discussing our various criminal passions and true crime passions, we are going to transition hard to the Queer Ultimatum, which is not criminal, though at times some of the actions of the contestants, or whatever we want to call them, feel a bit criminal. So, Dr. Kay, I'm so excited to talk about this show with you. I think it's the first queer show we've covered. Like, there's a lot of like bi content we love, but I'm so glad that you suggested we cover this show because it enraptured me and I loved it the whole time.
Yes, that's so good. And the first one was so good. And you haven't seen the first one as context, which is helpful for folks to know. And also that means you would also not think to necessarily cover it for this, because if you had seen it, you'd totally feel that way too. It is so good. And like you should go back and watch the first one when you get a chance, because it is just as good. And I think the idea too, you're right, like we are, as two bi plus podcasters, podcast hosts, co-hosts, we are often like left wanting for like good queer content in the reality TV world. So it is nice that this is offering some of that, like, reprieve from that desperately bad dearth of queer content on reality TV. And in fact, like, very, very disturbing queer content. Like, if we think about another time we had a good conversation about biphobia was during that show Perfect Match, which is coming back out.
Oh.
And that was so bad. It was so biphobic.
It was awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I had to like block it. But I have to say, like the normal Ultimatum show, I did not like it at all, and it made me sad.
No.
And this was
Very sexist and
200 times better. Like it was just great.
Yeah. It is totally different. It is totally different from the regular one. It really is. So like, yeah, you wouldn't be like wanting to watch another season if you had just watched one of the hetero ones, because it just is disturbing how they do it. And also it's like very patriarchal masculinist. Like it feels sexist and bad and very heterosexist too. So then you would think they wouldn't be good at doing a queer show, but they did a great job at it. So we were thinking we would start by talking about whom the cast members whom we were watching, who the cast members are, and then just that'll give us some names to get started into the rest of the segments. So I have a little list here. The first two were Marie and Mel, and Marie had asked Mel to be married. Like, so she asked the ultimatum of Mel. Mel is masc, Marie is femme. Mel is also one of the castmates who ends up having sex. And then they had been dating for 4 years. Haley asked Pilar. They're both femme. Haley is another member of a couple who ended up having sex in the trial marriages. They'd been dating for 10 years. Brittany asked AJ. AJ is masc, Brittany is femme. And they've been dating for 5 years. Kyle asked Bridget. They're both like hipster. I wouldn't even say I think they're gender non-binary.
Yeah.
Do you think
I
that?
think Kyle definitely is, because they mentioned like fiancés being they them sort of terms.
I love that.
But yeah,
I love that.
I kind of had crushes on both of them before
great.
watching them,
Yeah.
and then afterwards I was like, no.
Yeah, they're not someone I would date. Neither one is a person I would date, but they both were like cool. Like they were people that they're like, they have similar like queer theory views on the world that I would attach to pretty quickly. But yeah, I agree. and they'd been dating for only 2.5 years, which honestly I was like, whoa, that is not as long as everyone else. And then Ashley asked Marita. They're both pretty femme. I would say Ashley's like more leaning towards eventually being non-binary, but she's also femme presenting, at least like long hair with her hair long and straightens it and stuff. She issues and wants to marry Marita, but she basically said to Marita at the beginning, it's just that it's interesting you have like wandering eyes all the time and I don't get it. And Marita says, well, she's not going to get the love she needs, so it's natural from Ashley, so it's natural she's going to be curious about other relationships. It's just like icky feeling at the beginning of the relationship. Marita regularly tells Ashley that she's not doing enough. So there's something happening there in their dynamic that leads them to this. They had been dating for 3 years.
They're just missing each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and maybe not having the capacity to be there the way that the way that Marita needs, and then that must be very frustrating for Ashley.
It truly feels like that's the case. Like, yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then Dana asked Megan for the ultimatum, and Megan is, right, she Lebanese. You were thinking maybe Lebanese. I think she's, yeah, I just watched that part of it just today, too, and I immediately spaced it just now. But yeah, she's like potentially Islamic faith or Muslim. She definitely is of a cultural background where it's not okay to be gay, and so she has a really hard time imagining even telling her family, which is fucking fine, by the way.
Right.
Like, the fact that Dana gives her such a hard time about that is driving me a little bit up the wall. Like, and she doesn't even have like a good reason. Like, she's basically saying like she should just be proud about it and like force people to be okay with it.
And not all families are accepting, and frankly, like that can be a huge hill to climb for people.
Yeah,
like
or unsafe,
yeah.
even unsafe.
Right.
And if it's unsafe, she should not do it.
Right. Yeah, it seems like Dana has not had that experience, and while I'm so happy for her, it's like you can't necessarily put a timeline on someone's family acceptance journey.
Exactly. And it was interesting that Pilar was there, who had the story to tell about that. You know, that her family still has not talked to her yet since she disclosed her identity to them. So that's our cast. That's our whole cast here.
Yay!
It's a good cast. So our first segment, as a reminder for folks, is if producers of this show, The Ultimatum Queer Love, were psychologists, XYZ aspect of it would look more like ... So what aspect would you change if you were a producer as a psychologist, and what would it look like?
Okay, so there were a lot of unwritten rules that I felt confused about, and sometimes they seem to be used for dramatic effect, but I didn't necessarily know what the rule was. For example, like people talking to their previous partner. When AJ did it with, oh my gosh, Brittany? Is that her partner's name?
AJ Brittany, yes. Yeah.
And
yep,
like
perfect.
Maria was upset. It felt like we were supposed to like really empathize with Maria, but then I realized later that a lot of them are doing that, and I didn't really realize that. Like I would have liked to be clear on what the parameters were around that for the castmates, or what the norms were, so that I could know how egregious to feel about given behaviors. Because if everyone was doing it, then singling out AJ and Brittany actually isn't that fair. But I guess I didn't have a sense of what the social norms were on a few issues.
Yeah.
Including sex, which they did bring up in the reunion, spoiler alert, but it, like, what the operational definition of that, I wish they would have brought up some of that stuff earlier, because I thought it was like juicy and interesting content.
It's so good and so true. And one of those things that like the host mentions that the conversations are different in Queer Love, and that's one of those conversations that's different. Sex, what sex means and what we call sex, and that can be different from couple to couple, how you label it, which is the point they talk about in the reunion. So that makes it a really important part to bring up, since we do kind of like play around with the idea of like who had sex and what did it look like, and like and is it just, do we just consider it sex if that couple thinks of it as sex, or like should we be using our own definitions for it to call it that? Is another thing that gets more complicated if you're in the area of like talking about queer love and sex. Yeah, totally. Great point. And I think they're like I mean, that part I feel like is couple to couple. Like they're allowed to have sex or like whatever, do anything they want with as long as they are agreeing about their boundaries.
Right. Yes, and I think there were some
I guess same with
instances where that didn't happen. Like things got complicated for sure. But yes, what was your producer gripe?
Okay, so my producer gripe, I think that's a great one too. It's like sort of operational definitions, and then also like I would be interested to know what are the boundary conversations they're having first. Like that'd be a good thing they should work in. Is like
Right.
tell us when they introduce each couple, tell us what they decided their boundaries are, because I would like to like know that and think about it with them a little bit.
And also with your
Um,
trial marriage, like how are you
yes,
introducing the idea that you're talking to your partner or
exactly.
your
Yeah,
ex, as they call it in the show, which is obviously not.
right.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Clearly still dating,
Hmm.
really. Yeah, exactly. And I think, right, that conversation should be invited explicitly. They should say, like, are you talking to your, you two should talk about, here we're going to have you talk about this on camera. Like, talk to each other about what you decided with your partners, ex-partners, you were going to have for boundaries. And I think there, a show that does that is Fantasy Island. Is that what it's called? Fantasy Island? The one that's like,
Oh,
there's a couples therapist. Yeah. It's actually pretty good, to be honest. And the guy's name is like the same as Mark. He's like Mark Wahlberg. The guy's name is Mark Wahlberg, even though it's not Mark Wahlberg, but it's like that. His name is actually Mark Wahlberg, but it's not Marky Mark. But yeah, so he like is a couples therapist, sort of. He's not really, but he like acts as one. And these couples come in, and their first conversation on camera really is what their boundaries were coming in. And I think that's a great idea.
that's amazing. I think more
Yeah.
reality shows should do that because I think that might be a great like harm reduction sort of model.
Yes. Exactly. And it's also still good for TV. Like you're not harming the TV for us to know that explicitly. So good. So love that. My thing about producers of the show thing is that essentially I've decided it's a little bit of like a broken formula because the person which they know, right? Like they say in the opening, I don't know if they did this season, I didn't pay attention, but they every other season they start in the beginning with their introduction saying ultimatums are not actually supposed to be good for you. Like they even say that they're like this is not actually recommended, but like in this case we're doing it because da 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 whatever. They defend it somehow, but it is not good for relationships. We do know that. So in beyond that fact, which is already true, I also feel like this formula is broken because the person calling for the ultimatum doesn't want to date anyone else. They just want to be with the person that they are bringing in. Whereas the person who's coming in doesn't want to get married, so they must be jazzed to go date a bunch of people at the dating scene, right? Like the when they get to date people. And so unrelentingly, every single season, someone who called the ultimatum says to the other person, "Oh man, I brought you here, but now I don't like this anymore." Because of course they don't. Because they brought them here. Now this person's jazzed. They get to go date everybody, and you don't want to date anyone else because you want to marry them. That's why you brought them here. So you don't want to date, and you actually feel like uptight and not uptight, but like sort of uptight. But I mean more like guarded and defensive about dating. So it's uncomfortable, and it ends up being like every single season there's a conversation like that. And I think another person was saying like, do you even want to live with someone else for 3 weeks? And that was like, yes, if not you, then someone else. It's sort of it's sort of like there becomes this written like a scripted almost. It's like scripted quality to it, where it's like you can just guess this is coming up because it does every season because it's always going to be a like broken part of that formula. I think that's the hard part with the dating thing, and I don't know what the solution to that is. But I think if psychologists were producers, they would shift that somehow. Like I don't know if it's like maybe that like not maybe it's not dating. Maybe they don't think of it as dating. Maybe it's more like to do something else to like introduce people to each other. I don't know, but something about that particular task of dating everybody is different for both people, and it ends up being kind of shitty for the person who brought the other person here.
Right. Except in the case of, oh my God, why am I forgetting her name?
Yeah, Dana and Megan, because Dana
Megan.
brought her here, but then she's like, I'm excited. Yeah, and Megan's like, I want to go.
Yeah, she was like really struggling. I really liked Megan until I started to struggle
too.
with her. I think frankly
Yeah,
because I
towards
had
the end.
a wee crush, but I don't know. She has
I love that.
work to do.
Yeah. No, definitely, and they all do, frankly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think even in that case, though, like there was a way in which like Dana ultimately ended up embracing it too, like and because they were there as being asked to do the ultimatum, they were like ready to dig into that part in a way that Dana wasn't. Like then Dana was very upset about it. So I think that still played out in a way where that's not really. That's shitty. I don't know. I guess it's just a part of it, though. I mean, but ultimately, that kind of thing was okay. It's more like the dating scene when there's always at least one or two couples who are having that same conversation. It's just sort of like, oh my gosh, of course, like that's so shitty. And at least maybe that's what psychologists would do. That's different. Just name that thing that like that's part of the task of this, and that sucks. And maybe stop showing that scene as if it's like the real drama because we've all fucking seen it.
Right.
Like, you can't just keep showing us that scene as if it's different.
There's plenty of other real drama, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need to worry about that. We get it.
Shit,
Yeah.
not Meg. Megan.
So,
shit, is it Megan?
Did you
Oh my
spot
God.
Yeah, Megan.
Megan.
Mm-hmm, Megan. Yeah.
And if so, how did it map onto what we think
Dr. Kay has done
therapy? Wonderful mental health checkup.
So I thought of it as when Marita brought up her learning over time to dig into self-love in response to her keloids.
I think it's like the next
So
episode.
I feel like
Not that
one
big
thing
of
is
a
I think that
spoiler,
I thought that she was referring to
spoiler,
therapy
no.
because she was young when she went through that
that's
phase
great.
of
That's
having
a great.
to
You
learn
know
to love
what? How
yourself.
perfect is
And because
that
it
we
sounds like
ended
therapy.
this
Like that sounds like
episode
something we would do
on
in therapy.
an
Is to
aspect
talk
that comes
about
up in our
loving
next
yourself regardless.
episode.
And I
Sort of like
also
bridging
decided
us,
to
bridging us to our next episode of
add
the
my
podcast.
tiny teeny contribution to the movement of like helping people with
like,
keloids
I'm so glad we got a
feel more
chance to talk
self-love
about it.
Yes, I
by
love talking
telling us more about
about
what
this show.
keloids
It's
are,
really
because I
fun.
think that more awareness of it can be helpful.
Really interesting.
And so I did a little
rich.
digging
I
into
think
it.
because
One thing is
maybe
that
the women are just more
keloids are
nuanced
scars
and
that,
relational and
while healing from an injury or
complicated in
surgery
all the
or
best
acne,
ways.
it could be any number of things like that.
Yeah.
Injury,
and
surgery,
more open
acne.
with our emotions.
And
therefore
people
there's
develop
more to
extra
play with
skin
there,
because
which
there's
is really
extra
cool.
collagen being released. So it results in this sort of like firm, which I had no
Yeah,
idea.
I love it. And then the queerness too. So like obviously that's like because there's two women, so that makes it more like that's related to the fact they're women. But then also the queerness of it just related to like being an oppressed group and then seeing how we absorb oppression and some of us like reify it or like reiterate it while still struggling with it too, of course. Like it's not like they're also not suffering under patriarchy, but even in the way they perpetuate it. But there's also the parts where it's like where are you critiquing it, where are you sort of absorbing it and reiterating it as a way of trying to work through it or trying to like imagine how to. It's like an identification with the aggressor, right? It's like when we are the victim of a certain dynamic, starting to identify with the person who put us in that down position is a way of having safety in the future. So it's sort of like that idea with that, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So come check us out on Patreon because as Dr. Ray mentioned, my mental health checkup is on there, which is about the central relational paradox. So if you join us for $5 a month, very inexpensive. Also, you'll get a shout out on the podcast and also maybe get a free year of membership. But otherwise, it's $5 a month anyway, so it's really not that bad. Mm-hmm. And you will be able to see a lot of good things, and we're going to keep upping that in times to come. I also put like a little essay out about things related to our last podcast episode, and there is, like I said, mental health checkup, which is also related to Huda. So if you're interested in Love Island, I also apply the central relational paradox to Huda in the most recent post. So go check that out. And we are also on Instagram. Oh yeah, well, let me say the name of our Patreon, which is patreon.com/realitytest, capital R, capital T, or you can go to the search bar and put search at the @realitytest. You'll find us that way. I will also say we're on Instagram at Dr. Ray Pods and at Dr. K Pods. We are also on TikTok at dr.realitytv, REALITV, and also on both YouTube and Facebook at Reality Test Pod. So come check us out. Any of those places, we'd love to see you there.
And please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends because it really helps us to keep doing this thing we love. And yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Hey, see you all next session.
Bye. Come with us.